controversy, all that and more. It's been a crazy week. Let's get right to it. This is Footy First. What is up, guys? Another week means another episode of Footy First right here on YouTube. Nick McVicker, Nico Giantsopoulos with you. And don't worry, folks, you can always catch us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. But Nico, how you doing this week, my man?
Not too bad. We just came back from a road trip, so I had to unpack. I've actually just moved into an apartment here in Vancouver, so I'm dealing with a move, but finally settled in. But we're back on the road tomorrow, so hectic week. But how are you,
Sounds like
Nick?
it.
That's
Yeah, no, I'm good,
it's
man.
not
It's
bad.
just it's been busy here, different family stuff going on, but overall pretty good. Lots of footy to watch, so I can get through the week, and I mean also the NHL playoffs. Leafs still holding on right now, so we'll call that
Should
a
we talk
win.
about? Should we start the show with a little Leafs recap?
Oh, it's funny. You want to hear the funny part? I didn't watch a single second of the game last night because me and my fiance went to the Jays game
Damn.
because she was so
Well, then
stressed about the game. She's like, you know what? Let's go out and watch the Jays game. I'm like, okay, sure.
Wow, could have been the last game of the season. She didn't even want to watch them die. I actually went to a bar here in Vancouver and watched the game. I was probably the only person in Vancouver that cared about the Leafs game, but watched the game there. Overtime winner. It was wicked.
Yeah.
Oof. Coming back to Toronto now.
Coming back to Toronto, so tomorrow's going to be crazy here in the city, just because Toronto fans get up for those games. But it'll be fun, and I think if Matthews can be back, that'll help a lot.
I tweeted about it actually. Just bench Matthews. We just won. That was probably our best game of the series without him.
True.
I wouldn't change. You don't change the winning lineup.
True. Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see what they do. But while I love talking hockey with you, dude, we do have a lot to discuss this week, and we can go so many different ways because the Canadian Championship's on right now, right? So, we could go there. We have lots of CPL action. League One kicked off this week, and I know we got League One Ontario on there, but all the League Ones pretty much kicked off this week. It's been a fun week for footy, and why don't we start with a team that has made it a very hot start, and that's the Vancouver Whitecaps. You are now in Vancouver. They're off to a torrid start right now. They're sitting third in the West, but they're 1 point out of first place in the MLS, and they got a game in hand as well. How impressed have you been with this Whitecap squad to start the year?
Torrid start. I don't think I ever would have chose the word torrid just because I've never heard of it before. Um, but yeah, you said it there. Red hot start from the Whitecaps. Being in the city, you could feel the excitement when there's home games here. It's great to see this team. I mean, they were great last year, and there was no reason. They had some great additions. Pico in the midfield has been
Yep.
wicked for me to see. But I mean, it all comes down for me is Ryan Gold and Brian White. If those two can stay healthy, I love this Vancouver team and seeing what they could do in the MLS.
It's been really, really impressive. You mentioned Gould and White, but they've had so many contributions from across the pitch. Takaoka has been fantastic at the back. And you mentioned it last year. You thought he was going to be one of the best keepers in the MLS at one point. He's starting to already show that. And the back three has come together really, really strong. They play with the two wing backs. Everything has just come together. Vanni Sartini's done a great job putting this team together. I've been truly impressed this year. I thought they were going to be good. I thought they were going to be third or fourth kind of range, maybe drop down to sixth, depending on how other teams go. They've impressed me because they're right at the top.
Vanny, early favorite. Like, you got to add his name to the list of Coach of the Year.
Absolutely. Not even a question in my head. He has to be up there. And, I don't even know if there's another coach who is even close right now. I know there's other teams having good starts to the season, but let me clear that up because I think those teams were expecting to have good starts to the season. There's no real other surprise team that is that far above where everyone expected them to be. Again, we all thought Vancouver was going to be good. I don't think I had them in the top 2 or 3 in the West consistently throughout the year. That's at least I didn't. So and that's based off what everything that I read about them, everything going into the season that I thought about this squad. I didn't have them 1 or 2. I had them in the 3 to 6 range, the next tier. So that's my.
I think as the season last year near the second half of the season is really when this new Vancouver Whitecaps started to emerge, and I think into the offseason they had great pickups, and I just think the group there believes in the squad, and even now I think before when they're going on the road it's like we'll be lucky if we can get a point. Now this Vancouver Whitecaps, it's like, oh, we're on the road, we're going for 3 points and we're expecting wins now. I think the standard has been really raised within the club, and for right now this is the new looks Whitecaps. But so many things fall into place. Can they stay healthy? Like we said, it's just a hot start. But if I'm a Whitecaps fan, I'd be very happy with my team.
Absolutely. I would be thrilled with this team if I'm a Whitecaps fan. Right? You have to be thrilled with this team. But the real question is this sustainable? Do you think that this team is a title contender come end of season?
If they can stay healthy and no drastic things happen throughout the season, yeah, this squad, the way it's built, Vanny at the helm, there's no reason why they can't be a contender.
Yeah,
small sample size right now, but they got all the tangibles.
But is it really a small sample size?
Yeah,
it's 10 games into the season.
But still, the first 10 games are very different than the next 10 games.
I'm not arguing that.
Next portion will be huge.
I'm not arguing that, but I'm just saying when we say small sample size, this is over a quarter of the season, right? This is what, 38 games in MLS?
Around there. Still too small.
Right? But I'm saying it's a quarter of the season. It's not like we're talking 2 or 3 games like we're talking in the CPL, right? This is a decent enough sample size that we can extrapolate that this team's going to be pretty good throughout the year as long as there's no big injuries. As long as they stay together and they keep believing in what Vanni Sartini is saying, this team is going to be very good because we've seen it shown. They know how to do it. And now I expect them to continue that because we've seen 10 straight games. Not to mention the Canadian Championship is going to come up. They're going to play games in that too. There is a lot that this team has going for them, and I think that they have the ability to be a regular season champ, let alone I think they could contend for the title in the playoffs too.
Definitely in the Western Conference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. This team is good enough to compete at every single level. So I'm very interested to see how far they go in every single competition, whether we're talking regular season, whether we're talking CONCACAF champion or not CONCACAF, Canadian Championship, and whether we're talking MLS Cup. This team could potentially win all 3. That's what I see from them right now. The way they're playing, the way they've bought into Vanni Sartini's system, this could be a triple crown season for them.
I think that's really taking a stream, but yeah, I guess it could. Yeah.
Is there any reason that they couldn't? Other than other teams having a good time, but
I mean, besides the fact that it's just very difficult to do that, and there's a reason why it doesn't happen so often. But again, I mean, I think the expectations now of this club is to compete for every single trophy that they're battling at the beginning of the year. Whitecaps, let's just say 5 years ago, I don't think there was that belief and that expectation. So
when Vanni Sartini got here, I don't think that was the expectation for this side. Is that fair to say?
Didn't Vanni Sartini start off as just the interim head coach?
Yeah.
He wasn't even given the reins at the beginning.
Yeah, but that's my point, is that when he got here, I don't think anyone expected them to go on the road and expect to win, or anyone expected them to be a top team in the division. Like, that wasn't what the expectation were at that time. They were expected to try to battle for a playoff spot.
Do you think it's more Vanni and the players, or do you think it's more of how the organization is just being run? Because I mean, we're about to go to TFC. I know TFC fans are on Twitter. They're saying they ain't too. It doesn't seem like they're too happy with how their team is being run right now.
Yeah.
But so Whitecaps, on the other hand, does that speak more to the organization as well? It seems like they're having a lot of success. Running the business and running the brand of Whitecaps. It must go hand in hand.
I believe it does. And I think, honestly, A lot of credit has to be given to Sartini and the players because when it comes down to it, they're the ones who go out on the pitch and play the games. Right? The players go out on the pitch, play the games. Vanny puts the system together based on the players he has. A lot of credit has to be given to them. But how the club is run, how everything we hear about the Whitecaps is a club that about 5 years ago made a lot of changes to the upper management and everything in the background because they were having a lot of issues and some a lot worse than others. They made a lot of changes. And based on what we've seen over the past 5 years, this club looks like they've turned a corner and are being run properly. And like we could talk about what TFC was doing when they were doing their MLS Cup runs. Everyone said the same thing, that they were being run properly. And then since then, they were maybe not being run so properly because they had upper management changes. And that's what happens when you lose those key people in the upper management positions who put the coach in place, who help bring in players. That makes a difference. And you see it at every single level. If a team starts struggling, and we can talk about Europe, we can talk about North America, whatever, it comes down to the people at the top making the decisions, bringing players in, giving support to the staff. All of that is so important. And it looks like Vancouver made that switch 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, and now they are on the right path. And it's working really, really well. Vanni Sartini has been fantastic for them. And I can't believe that it took them that long to kind of figure that out.
Yeah. And just to wrap up that point, I think Axel Schuster, the GM, the CEO at Whitecaps, he's kind of come in that last 5 year frame. I think he's done a great job with the club. And if you give him a grade to start off the MLS season, it's an A for me.
Yep, I agree wholeheartedly. They've been very, very good to start the season, and I look forward to seeing a little bit more from them as we move on because they've been really impressive to watch this year.
Should we throw it to the East Coast?
Let's transition from West to, well, not really East Coast, but Eastern Conference. TFC and the Herdman effect. Listen, they're kind of sitting pretty in that 4 spot. Let's be honest. They're 4-1-5 through their first 10 games. Based on what I watched at the very beginning of the year, let's take the last 3 games out. Let's take the first 7 games. I'm shocked that they're sitting in 4th. And that has nothing to do with the Herdman effect at all. They just had no goal scorers at the top. No one could pot a goal. And you lose Lorenzo Insigne for what looks to be 2 months probably. He's already missed 5 or 6 games now. Going to be a few more. So that's a big loss. Bernardeschi's looked fantastic. He looks reinvigorated. I think Herdman has come in and talked to him and gotten the best out of him that we may have seen at TFC in his short stint at TFC so far. But do we think that John Herdman has done a good job through the first third or quarter of the season?
Yes. I mean, considering they were the worst team in the MLS last year, and it just seemed like the group was not together at all. There seems like a commitment to the process here. Are they, the best team in MLS right now? No. But it looks a hell of a lot more positive than it did ending last year. Bernardeschi, I mean, you mentioned him there. Yeah, he's looked good. He looked sick as well when he first came to TFC. Then all of a sudden, fans, they're fucking all over him then. And then at the end of the season, when it was basically just, not a good time in Toronto FC, then he wasn't performing well. And people are like, well, they're kind of throwing him under the bus as well. Yeah, he's shit now, this and that. I mean, it seemed like it was just a gong show over there. It didn't seem like it's tough to be a motivated player. I'm sure that's how he was feeling at that time. John Herdman comes in, like I said, the group just seemed more unified. They got a bit more, swagger to them, identity. It just seems like a better group altogether. And Bernardeschi, we're seeing how good he is. I mean, this guy was in his prime when he left Serie A to come to TFC. So yeah, he should be killing it, and he's TFC's best player.
Agreed.
Right now for me. But again, I think credit has to go to Herdman. Leadership is huge when it comes to that. And from the outside, he's done a good job so far. We're not going to go, he's done an amazing job, but he's done a good job so far. And seems like they're heading in an upwards trend.
I agree with you. I think he's been good for this side. Do I believe he is a fantastic coach? That remains to be seen. But I think he's done enough for this side to get them going in the right direction, trending in the right direction, as you said, Nico. And for a squad that was dead last year, that leaked goals. And when I say leaked goals, they leaked goals. They gave up so many opportunities. The defense looked lost for the second half of the year. And a team that couldn't get anybody forward going motivated. They've looked rejuvenated. They've looked brand new. Bernadeschi, as I said, has been fantastic. That midfield group, I love the addition of Debbie Flores. He looked really good in the first couple games. Since then, he's kind of settled into that defensive midfield role, which is great. That's a role that they haven't really had in a long time. Even though I know Bradley was there, that wasn't really his role because he was either going center mid or center back. He never was really playing that defensive mid role. They needed somebody like that. And to have Debbie Flores come in and produce it the way he was a great addition. And you're getting young guys in. The biggest question mark was going to be scoring. And then Prince Owusu over the last, 3 matches, I think has 3 goals, something like that, or 4 goals. Like he's all of a sudden caught fire. If he can continue that.
Number 99.
Number 99.
A Canadian team goal scorer that's wearing number 99. Good signs.
Yeah.
And his name's Prince.
Prince, yep. And honestly, like for me, if I'm looking at it, this team has the horses to compete in the regular season in MLS. I'm not sure if they're an MLS Cup team. I really am not sure about that. But if they can continue playing like they are right now, they'll be a 4th or 5th, maybe sneak into that 3rd spot in the East ahead of playoffs, which would be really interesting.
And that's what TFC fans should be thinking right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes people from Toronto need to humble themselves a little bit. You were dead last, so for you to be like, no, we need to be winning something this year. It's like maybe the Canadian Championship, but like just, look to be competitive again because last year's TFC was not competitive. Right now, your goal should be, like you said, 3rd, 4th. You'd be very happy with that, and then playoff time, anything could happen. You mentioned goal scoring there. Spicer. We had the 1st round draft pick because they were the worst team in the league last year. They drafted him from Lipscomb University. I mean, this ain't the Syracuse, the North Carolinas that we're usually getting players from. Yeah, it's Lipscomb University again, Division I. I don't think I got recruited by them, but I sent them an email, and the coach got back to me and sent me a university camp invite. So they recruited me.
Yeah.
So to see a guy have success from there, good to see. I had my doubts because, again, dumb from me. I should know better than judge a player just based on his college and where he's from. I'm like, how good can this guy be? But he's got something to him. So that's been impressive. Good pick by the scouting team at Toronto FC. It's tough to be successful in the college draft. I feel like when it comes to the U.S.,
it's so many
tough. Tangibles.
That is such a hit and miss draft.
It's so different. The professional soccer to college soccer. It's like it's almost 2 different sports in a way. So sometimes a player that's successful in college won't necessarily be successful in the professional level.
Agreed. And you know what? You're right. I should have mentioned him as well. Spicer's been very good the last few matches. It took him a while to get into the squad because of injury during preseason, right? So that's why he wasn't in the first few games. But since he's kind of come in, he scored a big goal in the Canadian Championship. I know they ended up not really needing a whole lot of goals, but he scored a big goal in the Canadian Championship. Then he adds one in their last match. He's starting to find his role with this side. If him and Owusu can keep potting goals, this team's going to be okay. They're going to be okay.
Definitely. I also like Sean Johnson in goal. He was brought in to be like
the brick wall.
Experienced goal. Yeah, of course.
That's what he was brought in to do.
An experience from the back. And he showed glimpses of that. He had a good start, then he got injured. I loved Luca Garvin's game when he came in. I thought he was great, young Canadian keeper. Look out for him, Canada men's national team for, in that goalkeeper role. And he could, I'm hoping he could get a few games. Again, I'm hoping it's not because Johnson's playing poorly, but I hope it's because TFC's winning. They got a busy schedule. Okay, we'll give Garvin this game. He played against Simcoe County Rovers, which was basically, just go stand outside for 90 minutes. But I hope he gets some more MLS games. Yeah, exactly. But hopefully we'll get a couple more MLS games. And again, if those two can just be two confident goalies as well, it'll go a long way in Toronto FC having a good season.
Yeah, and we've seen that the MLS season, you have to have more than one competent goaltender to have success. You have to have your number one.
Stop you there. You cannot call a soccer goalie a goaltender. Never do that again.
I'm sorry.
I used to have a college coach that would it's not freaking goalie. This isn't hockey. It's not hockey. He was from the States. So that's how he sounded like.
All right. My apologies to you and the coach from down south. But
no, it's also for the soccer purists that are listening to our show.
And the soccer purists. I apologize. But you can't go through the MLS season without having two competent goalkeepers. You can't. You have to have your number one. Don't get me wrong. The top teams have a clear-cut number one. But it's a long season, especially if you're playing in the Canadian Championship, especially if you have CONCACAF games, which I know they don't right now, but you know what I mean. These are long seasons. There's lots of games that you can easily give your number one a break. Give him an extra day of rest, because by the time playoffs start, it comes at you fast, and you need everyone firing on all cylinders.
Especially with the new MLS season. I mean, do they still have that mid-season tournament again, no?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's just another at least 4 or 5 games that you're throwing in. So you're right. I was actually going to disagree with you at first, but then I started thinking about all the extra games that now MLS teams are playing. They're competing with the guys in Europe on amount of games in a calendar year. Yeah, you're going to need 2 goalies. The best teams in Europe, PSG's not the Manchester United, but
not right
City,
now.
They got their 1s and 2s.
Yeah, and you know what? The other thing is, there's a Copa America happening this summer where Sean Johnson is probably going with the American side. Potentially, he might be.
Does MLS not go on break? MLS won't go on break.
They might go on break for part of it, but they probably won't be on break for the whole time. So there might be a match here and there where Gavron is just going to have to play. Right?
Maybe the Copa is scheduled during the MLS in-season tournament.
Potentially. I would have to check the schedule. I don't know off the top of my head. We probably should have checked that before I made the point. But
either way, you're right. Luka's going to be getting games this year.
And there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you expect him to potentially be the guy for the future, right? If he's the next in line, you want to get him games.
Yeah, next in line is almost like it's too early to be putting that kind of title on him, but he's a good Canadian goalkeeper that has a lot of upside with his size, his athleticism. He's good at his feet. So Toronto FC is going to want they see value in players like that.
By next in line, I mean next in line for TFC, right? You don't have anyone else really in the pipe that you're expecting to potentially take over. He's probably the next guy if Sean Johnson moves on at the end of his contract. That's more what I meant. But I get what you're saying. Yeah. It's a positive thing to have both of them playing well. And he's looked really good. In the games that he played in, he definitely stood out in my mind when he needed to. So, from teams doing well to start the season to teams maybe not doing so well, I want to highlight the other MLS side at Montreal, as well as a team that I expected to do really well this season in Cavs in the CPL. Now, listen, they're at 2 different spots in the season right now. Montreal's 10 games into their season. Cavs are 3. It's a very different sample size here. But
and a cup game.
I'm talking about regular season, because Montreal is also
Gotcha.
Has Montreal played their Can Champ game yet? I don't think so. No, they haven't. No, they play. They got the
They
bye.
probably have a bye.
They have the bye. That was what it was. I'm trying to think about the Can Champ round 1 games that are going on right now. Did I miss one?
So I that's why I'm looking at my phone. I'm checking right now. It's 4-0 Athletic over Valor and 3-0.
Yeah.
Forge over York.
Yeah. Not exactly tight games right now, but things could change in the second half. You never know.
I cut you off. Continue with your point, Nick.
Anyways, we've had 2 different sample sizes here, but Montreal is not where I expected them to be. I thought they were going to be defensively pretty good. Maybe struggle a little bit offensively, kind of like what I expected TFC, because I didn't think they had a striker, but we've been proven wrong by this TFC side. Defensively, Montreal just hasn't looked good, and then there's rumors that potentially Matthew Choinière wants out now. I think there's some big cause for concern right now in Montreal, whereas on the flip side, Cavalry, it's still really early, but how early is it, or how early is too early to start raising the red flag and being concerned for the Cavs?
For the Cavs, it's too early. I mean, if I'm any CPL fan right now, Cavs, I'm not worried. Again, you have so much to go off of, from all their seasons prior, same management under Tommy. So you should have tons of confidence built
Agreed.
within yourself. So too early for Cavs. I think it's too early for any CPL team. I said that last week, and I'm going to stick to it now. But again, if you're a CPL fan, which ones are maybe, like, I can't do it, but like raising one eyebrow, it's kind of like the level we'll be at right now. There you go.
I got that
That's
down.
good. Okay, so CPL fans that would be raising one eyebrow would be if I'm a Valor fan and if I'm a Halifax fan.
Yeah.
Halifax also hasn't won a game. And yeah, so those are the two teams. Still too early to panic, so
Absolutely.
don't hit it yet. But one eyebrow raise right now for those. Montreal, it's early enough to be concerned.
Yeah. And it's maybe not a huge concern just yet. Don't get me wrong. Like, we're still in the first quarter of the season. You just said it about Vancouver and Toronto, right? But there's cause for concern. You might not be hitting the big red button right now and panicking on full blast. They are 10th. I think they're tied for the last playoff spot right now in the Eastern Conference. It's not like they're dead last with no wins, right? They have 3 wins. They just haven't looked consistently good. They're 3-3-3 through 9 games, right? Is that big cause for concern? No, you're not hitting the big red panic button. But if we're starting to hear rumors of players wanting to leave, especially guys like the homegrown Matthew Choinière, there's a little bit of concern there for me. Again, we're not full-blown panic, but I'm a little worried.
Concern. Yeah, now it's gone from one eyebrow if you're a CPL fan right now to Montreal's kind of like
Side-eyeing it a little bit.
Yeah, sure? Everything all right over there?
You sure about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think you're right about the Cavs one as well. Like, Cavs, it is too early. I think they've played decent in their matches. They got the draw against Ottawa. I know it was a tough game against Forge in Hamilton in game 1. And then game 3, they didn't have it. But 2 out of 3 games, they were in the regular season. And they won their Can Champ game. Like, they do have a win. It just wasn't in the league. So there's no real cause for concern yet, but you're right. Valor, Halifax, there's a little bit more cause for concern for them. But again, you're not hitting the red button. You're not full panic mode yet. It's still too early for the CPL sides.
Yeah, especially for Valor because now it's 5-0.
Yeah. Yeah, but we also did talk about it last week where they're dealing with some injuries to guys who should be impactful players for them. So, like, that's another reason where you're not going full-blown panic, but there is a genuine potential for concern.
Yeah, it's tough. For Cavs fans, if any Cavs fans listening to this, so let me just say this too. It's like last year you guys tied 5 games in a row in the league. I remember seeing stuff online like calling for Tommy's head. And then you guys ended up winning the league. So
yep,
just calm down. Don't get your panties in a knot. Just relax.
We're all going to be okay. There's still lots of time left in the season. And from too early in one season to way too early in one season, but I mean, why not talk about it? League One kicked off this week, and man, we got one of the nicest goals I have seen in a regular season kickoff match, because August Oku scored what was probably one of the nicest goals to kick off the season. He with the bicycle kick game winner. I'm gonna play it in 1 second here. I'm just got to get it up and running. But here we go.
The fact that it's a bicycle.
Yeah, he takes the ball down, facing the opposite way, and just a beautiful bicycle kick. You'll get a closer look here. This video, courtesy of League One and Burlington, by the way, folks. You see, he brings it down and just perfectly. No chance for the goalkeeper.
the center back too, just like
he's just like, what do you do in that situation? I'm sorry, if a guy does that, like, that is just a well done play. And
you go in the corner flag with him and join
you just let it go at that point.
I I'm just happy to be a part of it, man.
I'll be honest. So I told you I tried out for a team, and our first game, our preseason trial game, was against that Burlington League One side, and I got to watch this kid play. He's good.
He went up against Augustus.
I went up against Augustus, and he's good. The team is going to be very good. That Burlington side, I think, is going to be a top 3 team in League One Ontario this year. He is a good young player. I keep your eye on him for the rest of this season at the very least and see where he goes, because I think he has the potential to do something special. But
I like that. We should be trying to pick out some like top early contenders of like players in the League One. There's always these articles written about like, oh, this guy to watch, but like maybe we could find, maybe we could start a little like talent search here on Footy First, find some diamonds in the
listen,
rough.
I love doing that, and I
could cover the BC. You could cover Ontario.
I got to do Quebec too then.
Yeah, no problem. Just send me the receipts for the gas miles.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, honestly, I love watching the videos back. I try to watch as many of the League One games as I can. Mostly, I also do play-by-play, so it's good to have that kind of in the back of my head. But to see some of the talent coming out, the young guys, the guys who are 21 and younger, it's really impressive to see how far the game has come. And I mean, you get goals like we just saw there. That wasn't happening 5 years ago. Like, we weren't getting those in League
You're
One.
wrong.
No, in League One, we weren't
You're
getting
wrong.
those. That just wasn't where League One was.
When I was playing in OYSL, we played there's some crazy names.
I agree with that.
We're biking at the top of the box.
I agree with that.
16.
OYSL, we were getting that, but then guys would move on somewhere else and play somewhere else. We weren't getting that in League One. Now we're seeing it in the League One because they've built it up properly. Right? Those players are now staying and playing longer in Canada and getting a better look at the Canadian sides. That was where my point was trying to get to. Right? We weren't seeing that.
But KW sides, I was seeing it at KW United when KW was playing the PDL, lighting it up there.
Fair enough.
So it's happened, but I agree. It's just great to have a nice, what's the right word?
Platform.
Yeah, platform, league platform. Anyways,
yeah.
I get what you're saying there.
Yeah, I know you're just trying to get me going. I get you.
No, I'm also just throwing off. It's 6-0 now.
Yeah, it's not been pretty for Fowler. The Atletico side is doing pretty good, and Forge is doing pretty well against York too. But I mean, honestly, I love seeing that League One kicks off, and I love seeing that people are taking notice, because I saw that goal all over social media. Multiple different accounts sharing it. The big one, Pitchside Solutions, I saw them put it out first, but I saw it all over, and I'm like, okay, people are taking notice of League One. I've seen a ton of CPL stuff being taken notice. I've seen a ton of MLS stuff, but now people are starting to take notice of League One.
Yeah. Sometimes like clips like that, like a bicycle kick, which is just like a single moment of brilliance, can bring eyes to the entire league, and then people will just be watching it. So for sure, it's good. So if anyone's getting job offers for third division Saudi, thank Augustus for putting the league on the map.
Absolutely, and nothing wrong with taking that out, because we need to get more of that as we move forward. I just mentioned social media. Something we're going to do now, folks, is we're going to try to do this every week, and we're going to call it Twitter Watch, where we go through stories that we've kind of been seeing, kind of been following on social media throughout this week. Stuff that maybe we wouldn't necessarily talk about, but it's starting to gain traction, so it kind of makes sense to bring it up. And the first one is this one. So we saw the Footy Prime podcast, which is done. We know everyone, Jimmy Brennan and all those guys over there do a great job on that podcast. They mentioned something about Angus McNabb being part of the search for the next Canadian men's coach. And we got some Twitter following here. No shock, Jimmy Brennan and his co-hosts dislike Angus from York and fail to mention that he may have lost his job because of it, Jimmy Brennan. Well, listen, I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but Jimmy had a pretty good comment here. He had a pretty good comment. And then we got more people kind of commenting in, and that it's not necessarily wrong, but correct, but this is the epitome of football in this country. The old boys club is thought to know football only if you've played. It's flawed logic been exposed to some incredible ex-players who don't understand how a back four works. Now, Nico, listen. I think this brings up an interesting conversation that we can have because the conversation is whether you had to have played soccer in the past in order to comment on it. Do you have to have played soccer in the past to comment on it, in your opinion?
No, everyone's allowed to have a comment, whether people want to, give some, credit to your comments. That's one thing, and everyone's going to have a different scale as to how a person forms credit. But I'm smirking as you're talking, just because Jimmy's response back is hilarious. I mean, think whatever you like. I mean, I laughed when I saw that, and
immediately sent
I mean,
it to
I
me.
think I would love more soccer personalities just to be like saying. I think that's hilarious. Bring some eyes to the game. I think that tweet had over thousands of views. So I mean, hey, why not?
Listen, and
so I don't mind it.
I'll bring that commentary.
Sorry, I got sidetracked.
You did.
Sidetracked. Do you want me to answer your question?
Yeah, go for it.
About do you need? No, I think it gives credit if you played, and some people are going to think more highly of your word and of your comment. Maybe if you've played, but you don't need to have played to comment. But everyone's going to have an opinion. That's the crazy thing about Twitter.
Yeah, regardless of how long you played or if you played.
Please, both sides.
Yeah. Regardless of how long you played or if you played, everyone will have a comment about whether or not you deserve to have a comment, which I never understood. But like we both have played a long time. Different age groups. We know a lot of people. There's a couple guys that we played with that should never be in front of a microphone because they do not understand how the game works. And then there's a lot of guys we played with that break down the game better than most commentators on TV do right now. Like, that's just how it is. And then there's a lot of people that we both know outside of our playing days, people who've never kicked a ball in their lifetime, who can break down a game better than guys we played with. We know that's how it is. If you know the game, you know the game. If you don't know the game, you don't know the game. It comes down to that. As long as you know the game, I have no problem with you being a commentator. And I'm talking like actually on-air commentating, not just having a say on social media, because everyone's allowed to have a say on social media. I think that's fair. That's what it's there for. Whether you want to follow it or not, that's your own thing, right? It's not really my place to say that. But actual commentators, right? As long as you understand the game, as long as you can prove that you understand the game, go for it. We need people who understand the game being those on-air talent. Because when we have people who don't understand the game or aren't fully understanding of different tactics and maybe they just know one thing, that's where we start to, I don't want to say lack in our commentating ability or that's not even the right word, but that's where we have the most issues because we're not getting the best out of our on-air talent and not giving the fans and the people watching the best information to understand the game better. I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to say.
If you're in the media world and you're talking about the game, I just hope that you know about it. Just because you're so that's all I think.
Yeah.
But decent banter on Twitter, I saw.
Absolutely. Couple other things that we had on the report, and that's coming out of the Netherlands. It looks like Derek Cornelius is drawing some attention from Ajax and Feyenoord, which is an interesting duo. Both Dutch top clubs are seriously interested in the 26-year-old Canadian. What do you make of that, Nico?
If it's true, that'd be a great move for him. Left-footed center backs are hard to come by. Big, strong, athletic like Derek. It'd be great for his career if he can get that move. But good to just have that interest if it is actually there. Josh Fleming, I think, is the guy that said something about buying Finland thing. So, hopefully his sources are good.
Yeah, agreed. Next one up, we want to bring in a little bit of women's soccer because it looks like Project 8 is getting set to make some announcements in May. How excited are you for the Project 8 announcements here, Nico?
Good. I remember when we first spoke to them, I'm saying we had Diana Matheson on the show, and she said, we're doing this, and it's coming in 2025. I don't know if you guys checked your calendars. 2025 is next year. It's less than 8 months away. So I think this is going to be. I'm looking forward to see how it grows. Obviously, there's 3 confirmed teams. There's those rumors coming out of Halifax that they bought the rights to the name or something's been registered, something out there. But to my knowledge, a Halifax club has not yet been introduced. We got 3. They said there's 8 teams going to be in year 1. We got 5 more.
Yep.
That we need coming. So I'm looking forward to. They're hinting at the summer. There's going to be a lot of news. So bring it on Project 8. I'm here for it. We got to get Diana back on once new clubs are introduced. And I'm a big believer in this league. It's coming. When Diana said it, 2025, it's coming. She convinced me. I'm a believer. So looking forward to watching that. And a soccer fan should be excited. I know there's a bunch of young girls that are aspiring to be professional soccer. I actually did a school visit. Funny enough, we're talking about this today, this afternoon. And the topic we had to talk about is like achieving your dreams, following your dreams, and stuff like that. Project 8. There's tons of girls. When I was there, I asked who wants to be professional soccer player. So many girls raised their hands and stuff like that. Those are girls that are going to be looking forward to this league. So, looking forward to see how it progresses.
Agreed, and I'm really excited that they posted that tweet because it means that we're going to get more information this month. Like we don't have to keep waiting much longer. We're getting information coming out in May, whether it is the expansion.
Quit teasing us,
right? Whether it is the expansion sides, where the other 5 clubs, which I'm sure they will be coming out. But as you mentioned, there's already 3. We have Vancouver, Calgary, and Toronto already confirmed. I'm interested to see where they end up putting the other squads. Because you mentioned Halifax. Halifax looks like it's pretty much locked in. I want to know, are they going to put one in Edmonton? Are they going to try to go there where CPL went and struggled?
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other question. Are they watching what the CPL did and maybe where the CPL failed? They're going to learn from those mistakes. Who knows? But then are they going to be courageous and say, no, we believe in the market in Edmonton?
It's not like it's not like CPL has said that they don't believe in it because they're still trying to get a team back there. They've mentioned that multiple times that they want to put a team back there, right? So it's not like the market is bad. I think it was just the ownership group at the time was not good and didn't work, right? So they want to go back there. That's why I'm wondering if maybe Project 8 puts a team there and then the CPL sees that and might be like, okay, let's double up on that and try to get back there again.
Just give me news. Just give me news, Project 8. You've been quiet for too long. Hit up my line. Give me something.
I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. Just to see. I'm also really interested to see what the badges start looking like and the kits and where they're going to play. Like all of that information is really, really important, especially for a team. Like I'm going to be a little homer here. It's the Toronto team. I'm very interested to see where that team ends up playing. Like what park they end up playing out of. Right? Because we have York playing up at York Lions Stadium. I don't think this Toronto team is going to go that far north. I think they're going to try to be downtown. So are they going to be at Lamport Stadium? Are they going to be I'm trying to think of some of the other big, not big, but big enough stadiums. York, yeah. But yes, I just said I don't think they're going that far north.
I think maybe if there's a play there with AFC Toronto and York United coming together and building a Soccer Pacific Stadium.
Right, I agree to that. I think that actually ends up being what happens, but I'm just wondering where they play until that stadium is built. You know what I mean? So I'm interested to see where they end up and where all the other clubs end up. Are the Whitecaps going to play out of BC Place? Probably not.
I think they'll play. I think they'll play out of Swangard.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's just talking to people here. That's kind of what they're hoping.
Right? Is the Calgary Foothills going to play out of Spruce Meadows, or are they going to play out of where the Foothills team plays out of now? Right? Because they're already a squad. I'm genuinely curious where these teams are going to play. Lots of information still needs to come out.
Give us news.
We need news.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Nico, you want to start us off this week with your game of the week, or am I going first?
You go first. Do we have nothing else on Twitter?
We just had the Matthew Chouanier, but I kind of brought it up earlier. So
No, it's fine. I thought the other one was there was comments about John Herdman after the Simcoe County Rovers game and how he said, the team objective was to not hit 7 on Twitter. I saw some people, saying like, "Oh, that's dumb. He should never be saying that." Somebody called it a clown move.
yeah,
Um, my opinion on that, because I just had this debate with somebody yesterday, is that if I'm a Toronto FC player, and now, I might get some backlash for this, but if I'm a Toronto FC player and I gotta go play Simcoe County midweek, um, there's no motivation going into that game.
oh.
I'm not like up for it. It's tough.
Other than it being
Herdman
the Can
saying
Champ game, that's like, and it's such a minor first round game.
you should beat them. Toronto, trust me.
Yes,
Even
agreed.
when a CPL team plays plays League One teams, it's tough to find motivation because you're like, we should beat this team. It's
Agreed.
a lose-lose. We win 3-0. Oh, you didn't win enough. You lose. You're the worst team ever. You suck. You don't deserve a CPL contract. So I understand the MLS players like motivation going into that game. Herdman probably just gave him it's like, hey, like, key objectives for the game. There's 3 key objectives. Number 3, hey, get at least 7. Trying to find, and then maybe you got to find a way to motivate guys. And he just happened to say that at the end of press conference. I think anyone that's like, oh, that's ridiculous, so disrespectful. It's professional sports.
I'm sorry, Nico. I agree with you 100%. By the way, I'm not arguing your point. Did you read the comments that Herdman made? Did you read the actual question and answer that he gave?
Me, no, I didn't read it. I didn't care. I didn't think it was that big of a storyline until I saw these people.
He said, it's unfortunate that we didn't get the 7 because it would have been nice to have a record. It doesn't sound like he even told them that pregame, that was a goal or anything. It's just like, hey, when you're at 5 or 6, well, yeah, obviously you realize, okay, we actually are close to the record. Why don't we go for that? It's not like that was probably a goal for them pregame. They probably just wanted to get out there, get a good run out, and figure out who's going to score goals for them this year. Because that was going into that match, they really hadn't had anybody who was stepping up to score goals. Like, I took that as the most throwaway comment, and then you sent me the tweet, and I'm like, this is really a conversation we're having? Like, are you kidding me? I get if he's saying it before game, hey, we got to go out and set a record. Okay, fine. Maybe that's not the coolest thing to do, but that doesn't sound
I think that's the coolest thing.
But I'm just like, I'm saying it from, I'm looking at that differently. I might not agree with you there, but at the same time, I don't think that's even what he did. It doesn't even sound like that's what he did.
So that's what I don't know. These people that I see on Twitter, they don't know either. They weren't in John Herdman's pregame talk. There. But I've been on teams. I've played for coaches where that is I've
agreed.
Preseason. I'm not going to say what coach. I'm not going to say what team. I'm not going to say who we were playing. But a CPL preseason, we had a game on the objectives. It was beat them by at least 5. That was one of the objectives.
Right.
So I was actually believing that he did say that to the group.
And he might have, but the way I took it, the way it reads, the way it sounds when you hear the audio clip or you just read the transcript, it was like, oh man, like, yeah, like it would have been nice to get 7 and set a record. Like, that's kind of like how it came off. I know that was the exact wording. I don't have the exact wording in front of me, but you get what I'm saying? Like, it didn't sound like it was a goal. It was just like, oh, mid-game, they're like, oh, we're up by a lot. That'd be pretty cool if we could get the record, right? Like, that's more how I took it, as opposed to, hey, we're going to go set a record today. That's the goal. We're going to go set a record today. So I thought it was just such a silly conversation that was being had, because I don't think it had anything to do with what actually was said in the locker room pregame.
I think it's silly. Anyone that's like that's so disrespectful and stuff like that. It's nonsense. Nonsense. Don't agree. I think you're wrong there.
You think I'm wrong?
But
or they're wrong?
No. They're wrong. Okay. People that are like people.
Just checking. Yeah. Just making sure.
We don't need to go on. Yeah, no.
I'm wrong sometimes, but I didn't think I was wrong on that one.
We disagree. I think he did say it to the team pregame.
Again, that comes down to when it was actually talked about. from what I'm reading on the transcript, I thought it was one way. You took it as he said it pregame as a goal. That's just because we weren't in the room to hear it. But we're taking it two different ways. We're having two different conversations.
I'm gonna text some guys, and I'm gonna see if he said it.
Let's hear it.
I would put big money that he did.
All right, fair enough. I don't think so, but hey, whatever. Let's move forward now. Let's take a look at what we're watching this weekend. And you said I could start, so I'll start. I'm looking at another CPL match. I did a CPL match last week. I'm looking at another one this week, and it's the Vancouver FC. So your match, you're going into Calgary to take on Cavs. I think this is going to be a very, very interesting game. Vancouver's looked really, really good to start the year. I know they just came off of a loss, but this is a team that has the ability, or a draw, I guess. Draw.
Oh, we lost.
I was going to say, it is a loss. Oy, I hate the three things. I need the W, L, and T above them. D, draw. Whatever. Anyways, coming off of a draw, or loss. Oh my God, I said it again.
You want me to start?
Huh?
You want me to start?
No, I'm good.
You sure about that?
I'm sure about it, unfortunately. Vancouver won both their games at home. And going on the road against a team that has struggled to start the year, it's going to be an interesting match. Cavs being back in Spruce Meadows with the fans behind them, they're going to be up to try to prove that this start is an anomaly and get things back on track, whereas Vancouver's going in trying to keep the momentum going, even though they lost one, try to keep the momentum from the first two games. I think this is going to be a very entertaining match. I think there's going to be fireworks, there's going to be goals, there's going to be a lot going on, so I'm really excited for this one.
Good pick. No comment. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to show my hand. But I think it's going to be a good game as well. CPL fans tune in.
All right. You're up, man.
For me, I'm also sticking in the CPL this week. Nothing really caught my eye too much in the MLS, but you got the undefeated team going up against the team that hasn't won a game yet. Halifax versus Forge. I think both teams have something to prove this game. Forge, and we just go 4-0 and just completely asserting ourselves amongst the CPL. And if I'm Halifax, it's like, okay, sure, we've had a bad start. 0-3, you can't say anything else. It's a bad start. But can we then go ahead and get a win against the first place team? Statement game, statement victory. So both teams have something to prove. That's the game I'm watching this week.
Agreed. And for Forge, a team that a lot of people had question marks about their back line going into the season just because they lost.
And their
goalie. I was going to say that. You didn't let me finish.
My fault.
They have come out and said, yeah, no, we're okay. We don't need those guys. We're fine. It's still early, but they've looked really good.
Yeah, I not jealous. That's not the right word, but I mean, I trained with Chris Kalongo. I mean, it's always difficult to jump in. I mean, he had huge shoes to fill. I mean, Tristan Henry was the Golden Glove winner last year. Chris Kalongo had 1 or 2 professional games. He didn't have a professional win until the start of this season. I thought he was dealt a very difficult task right now. I mean, probably hasn't been given out, but or maybe it has. I don't know. He'll be CPL goalkeeper of the month if they're doing that again. They were doing that last year. Great start from him. Happy for him. He's a good kid. He worked hard. I saw all the work he put in this offseason. We were training with Evolution goalkeeping out in York region and with Stilo there. So, jumped in there. But
no, I agree with you.
Question marks, and he's filled in well.
I've been very impressed with Kalongo so far. He looks composed in between the pipes, which is something that you don't always see from young keepers. Sometimes they're a little bit timid. He looks very, very composed. Every time he's on the pitch, he commands that box, which is something that we don't see. So
for a keeper that has no professional experience, he's playing. He looks like he's playing with a lot of experience.
Yeah, and I think he's been one of the top 3 keepers in the league so far to start the year. I don't think that's really a stretch to say.
I mean, yeah, he's definitely been the best goalkeeper the first month.
Yeah, agreed.
I would love for somebody to argue me that.
Yeah. One other game to keep an eye on, Vancouver Whitecaps FC, going to try to set a record for fans in their game against Austin for their home match. They're hoping to have over 30,000 people in BC Place for the match this weekend.
Wow.
which is very impressive. I'm looking forward to that match. They're really trying to show people that they're here to stay, and they're trying to prove it with ticket sales, and they're doing a good job of it right now.
Wicked. Well, looking forward to be a part of history because I got tickets for that game. So
Yeah, 50th
Yeah.
anniversary game too, right? That's the actual 50th anniversary game.
wicked.
So
Can't wait.
enjoy it. So
I will.
I don't got anything else, Nico. What do you got left?
Nothing. Hope everyone has a good week. Keep messaging us on socials at Footy First Show. Follow us there. Comments. Again, I mean, we're kind of building the show as we go. Ideas, topics. So whatever you want to hear, whatever you want us to talk about, throw us a DM, throw us a tweet. Do what you want, and even tweet about it yourself. Maybe you'll end up on our Twitter watch. But trying to make the show as interactive as we can.
Absolutely. Let us know what you guys are looking for. We try to make everything as accessible as possible for everyone who's listening. So we will do our part to keep you guys informed. Well, Nico, I guess that means that we're done for the week. So make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Footy First Show. You can follow Nico and myself as well. Find us on both platforms. We will be back next week, assuming nothing goes wrong. We'll be back next week. Until then, thank you for watching.